Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I have came with another video. In this video I will explain the data that I have acquired by backtesting the second week of January 2024. It's a new year, and obviously we know that December and January are known to have low volume, and it's proving that right now. From December till January, you can see the market opened somewhere around here and then literally done nothing. Went down, came up, went down, came up. Yeah, there were some trade opportunities some of the times, but yeah, not a high probability months to trade. But obviously, just because we are backtesting, we are testing everything. And whenever the market is choppy and doing fuck all, wait for the high impact news to arrive, because it will probably determine the trend of the market 100%. Whenever the market is doing something like that, for example, the market was doing fuck all here also, then November NFP came in, boom, to the upside. It's only a matter of time that the market will again start to trend. I know that. So if you can be patient here and stay on your hands, stay on your guard right here, then it will be very, very good. That's also a skill, bro. Whenever GU bias is not clear, trade EU. Yep. Whenever like GU is not clear enough, but EU is, and also EU is aligning with DXY, then it makes sense to trade EU. I've noticed that. And also on the higher time frame was not clear, so didn't took the trade. Yep, I'll show you why I've written that. And going on DXY, let me show you. Weekly bias going to the next week isn't clear. I have written the weekly bias going to the next week isn't clear. Why? You may be asking, right? So now let me start the weekly bias. On the weekly, I have drawn the supply zone. Why I have drawn, I have told a gazillion of times. Now you guys know more than me, so obviously I will not tell that. 1st January's candle, the first New Year's first candle was a bullish pin bar. You can see it closed as a bearish candle, but even though we know candlestick anatomy, so we know the sellers took the price all the way down there, but the buyers came in, took all the pressure, and then now it's going to the upside. Whereas on DXY, it should be going to the downside, right? Whenever GU is going up, DXY should go down. Then it will be like internally correlated. But here, in this case, even DXY was going up with GU, so it didn't make sense. So whenever GU and DXY are doing some same sort of things, what I tend to do is I go to EU, and EU was going down. It is literally a down candle. You can argue that, yeah, on Friday, obviously we know the weekly profiling, right? Monday went up, made the high of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday maybe went down, and Friday maybe did the pullback. That's typical weekly profiling. We know that. And also the accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. Whereas going to the next week, my bias was not clear, looking at everything. So when the weekly bias is not clear, I tend to trade the daily bias, as you guys know by now. Now let me show you the daily bias and why I took the trade and what I was looking for. Okay, so also on the weekly time frame, yeah, on the weekly time frame, let me show you one last time. The market filled up this fair value gap, as you can see on the weekly fair value gap, and rejected. We can argue that if this DXY candle closed bullish and not rejected this fair value gap, my bias on DXY could have been bullish. But due to this fair value gap rejection, it was so confusing and not clear at all. That is the reason I was not looking for trades in this week. And if I was looking for anything, it would be daily bias. And also if it will be a daily bias, it will be very, very risk off environment. This is the environment where you should be risk off. And also on the daily time frame, there are fair value gaps to the downside and there are fair value gaps to the upside. So where will the market go? We don't know. So whenever the situation like this appears in the market, it's best to not trade on Monday and wait for the bias, wait for Monday to play out. That is the exact reason why I have written this right here. Whenever, not this one, sorry, this one. Higher time frame was not clear, didn't took the trade on Monday. Did the correct thing, should have done that. On going on Monday, my DXY bias is not clear. It's a doji, complete doji, indecision candlestick. Even on GBP USD, it's a doji, and on EU, it's a doji. So Monday, there was no meaning trading. So let me directly do this. No meaning showing you the lower time frames analysis. Also, it's just a waste of time because obviously I didn't took the trade. Monday there was no news. Going on Tuesday also there is no news. So now going on Tuesday, I will look for buys, maybe because of the daily bias, sorry, because of the daily candle closure like that. And According to how this Monday candle closed on DXY, I will look for sells on DXY, targeting that fair value gap on daily to the downside and buys on GBP USD. So this is when I start to go on the lower time frames. And also there was a H4 fair value gap here, which I have not shown because I have not shown you Monday, but Monday came down, filled up the fair value gap, and then went up. So yeah, that was what happened. And going on Tuesday now, obviously going on Tuesday now, my bias is bullish. So I'm looking for buys from this sort of demand right here. The first area that I would look for a potential trade would be this fair value gap on the H1. I have marked this H1 fair value gap due to I marked the closest zones in the after the Asian range is closed, right? So this was the closest fair value gap on the H1 time frame, which I could have taken a potential trade from. And also there was a fair value gap here to the downside. Sorry, demand zone on the downside. So let me show you what happened. Obviously we will wait for the Asian range to close, because until and unless the Asian range closes, can't do nothing. And after the Asian range closes, that is when I tend to go on the lower time frames. So obviously the Asian low, will wait for the Asian low to get swept. There was also previous structural liquidity. It swept the previous structural liquidity, but it was not our time. It was 12.15, and 12.15 is not our time, obviously. So what we have done, we have not entered here because we know that this can be a high probability of inducement. Inducement happened, previous structured liquidity, Asian low liquidity, fair value gap got filled. So I was convinced that so much of liquidity got filled, and also the previous week high is so close. So might be it is good. It will be good to take a trade from here. So I took a trade from here, targeting the Asian high, after that the previous week high, after seeing so much of liquidity getting swept right around here. But that was a wrong decision, it seems. So lost the trade. We can clearly see we lost the trade on Tuesday. Losing is a part of the game. It doesn't matter if you are managing risk. Losing is just a part of the game. It's just a business expense to run your business and to forward yourself for the upcoming winning trades. One winning trade can literally make back all of your losses, so it's not a problem. So going Tuesday closed as a bearish candle. Obviously I was looking for buys on Tuesday, but it closed as a bearish candle as the market is doing fuck all. I've told you already. And also it is not a high probability time to trade because of how the market is in right now. And going to DXY now, the bias is clearly bullish. Now going on Wednesday, my bias will be bullish on DXY and bearish on GBP USD. Going to EU, and even now the bias is not that clear. And if I show you the news, Monday, Tuesday there was no news. Wednesday also there is no news. And if I show you the economic calendar, there was no news on Wednesday. So this is when I go to the lower time frames like H4, mark my week highs and week lows. Nothing is taken yet. And if I show you the H1, so on the H1, okay, so let's wait for the Asian range to close. I was looking for buys, as you guys know. Fuck, sorry, my bad. So going on Wednesday now, on the 4-hourly time frame, you can argue this was the low that caused this high, and this is a wick. So until and unless it is body close above this wick, we will not consider that as a structure. And yeah, that was what I was thinking. And also on the hourly, this was the low that caused this high. So whatever is happening here, it's still bullish, right? The market was still bullish according to me. And if I was looking for something on Wednesday, that was buys. My bias for Wednesday was buys, so I will wait for the Asian range to close. And sorry, not buys on DXY, sells on GU. I was looking for sells on Wednesday, which literally was a loss. Again, let me show you why I took the trade, what I've seen. The Asian low got, so obviously if I'm looking for sells, I will look for supply zones. There were no potential supply zones here. First of all. And whenever there is no potential supply zones on the market, it tends to give the continuation model. So in this case, it was a continuation model, M15 supply zone, fair value gap. So I have waited patiently for my timing, and it was also our timing, not our timing, sorry. 12:30, probably inducement, boom. Inducement, took out this position, early sellers, gave the perfect rejection candlestick that we wanted to see, and 7:45 AM UK time candle was to the downside, and then next candle was an inducement again. So this teaches us that always wait for, if you are waiting, always wait for that 8 a.m. UK candle to close, because sometimes the market, even on 7:45, it gives an inducement. I have seen that, and I have seen that a gazillion of times now, and yeah, it usually works. So now we can clearly see I took a loss on Tuesday. If I took a trade, I took a loss on Wednesday. Even though we will not care, we know that we can make that back in one day, and losing is part of the game. We have accepted that, and now we will go to trade on Thursday, no problem. So going on Thursday now, my bias is bullish again. The weekly, remember, the weekly bias is not clear, so I'm trading the daily bias. And going on Thursday, my bias is again bearish on DXY, which is bullish on GBP USD. And going to Euro USD, it's bullish. Euro USD gave my, by seeing Euro USD, I confirm my bias because it was very, very bullish. And this was the high that caused this low, lower low. And yep, the market was bullish. So this is when I start to go to the lower time frames, mark my zones to trade from. And yep, so this was the H1 demand zone made on 3:30 a.m. Also, I've noticed one more thing here. I've learned one more thing. The demand zones, if the trend strength is very high, yeah, the demand zones made early on the day, like we are trading Thursday, right? Even on Thursday, the demand zone made on Thursday may work on Thursday itself. It doesn't need to go all the way down here to this demand and then make a move. I've also learned that. So obviously I will wait for Asian range to close, and this is when I go to the lower time frames. The previous day high was there, previous week high was swept, so which was a red flag. And this is when I wait for my, obviously I didn't took a trade here because there was no fair value gaps. It may be a continuation setup, but there was no fair value gaps here to trade, and not the reaction that I was expecting so I waited for the Asian low liquidity to sweep, my my H1 demand to get mitigated, and then after this beautiful rejection candlestick, I took the trade for a 1:3, and then this was a winning trade. This was a winning trade on Thursday. So this is why. And also on Thursday there was CPI news. So if due to I'm backtesting, I'm trading every day, right? In the live markets I won't, obviously. So during CPI I won the trade, but it is not ideal to trade CPIs. That I've come to a conclusion after doing a lot of backtesting. And on Friday also there is PPI news. So just for example, I took 2 losses here. For example, I risked 2% on both of the trades. So I am down 4%, right, on the account. But I won this trade 1:3, risked the same amount, 2%, and gained 6% now. So now I'm up 2%, recovering my 4% loss. That is what risk management, that is what's beautiful about trading. If you know how to manage risk, you will lose less and win more. That's how everybody becomes profitable, bro. If you can learn that fact of the markets, then you will become profitable. So now going on Friday, my bias is again bullish because of Wednesday and Thursday closed huge bullish. So that is why I'm trading daily bias. I'm saying again and again and again. And DXY confirm my bias being bullish on GU. So this is when I go to the lower time frames like H4. So now the previous week high is swept already, so it is not as high probability as it was. And this demand zone here on the H4 was respected so many times, and this fair value gap got filled to the T somewhere around here. And this is when I go to the lower time frames like H1, mark my previous day lows and highs. If I'm looking for buys, obviously I will have to look for demand zones. So this demand zone was again made on 3:30 a.m. As I told, the demand zone made early on the day can also be used. So I was looking for buys from this sort of area. So this is when I go to the 15, wait for the Asian range to close, and Asian low got swept, right? H1 demand got mitigated, Asian low got swept, and then at our timing, which is 8 a.m. UK time, got the bullish candle, and this is when I entered the trade. It was a break-even trade. As you can see, the stop loss was very big, so it didn't make sense. And also it is a Friday, and also it is a PPI news day, and we tend to not trade PPIs and CPIs, but due to backtesting, yep. So this is what I want to say, and this is what the weekly breakdown looks like. And yep, it is fun. It is fun to do all of this. So that this is the boring part that most of the people don't do, but this is what will show you result, bro. So now going on the next week, this is a fuck all. You can see from 4 consecutive weeks the market's not doing anything. So this is, if you can survive weeks like this and be patient in weeks like this, then you can earn, or you can enjoy in these weeks something like this. These weeks probably teaches more than this week. So yeah, it was a good week. I will do 5 more backtests after coming from a run, so stay tuned.